Doing well, thank you.
Life is good. I can't complain. Where are you calling in from? How's the weather out there?
Actually, it's pretty rainy. I'm over here in San Jose, Santa Clara, California. So it's surprisingly still rainy this time of the year right now. Spring, I think they say spring showers, is a thing. Not normally a thing up in California. So it's kind of unique, but it's nice.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, won't we dive in and let's talk about first. Can you just share the full story of how your personal health journey and passion for golf led to the creation of community golf?
Yeah, absolutely. Great way to get started. So essentially kind of started like I grew up playing golf, with my family and such. Turns out I got diagnosed with a herniated disc at 16, playing various sports and stuff. I guess I did not notice I got hurt and I wasn't able to try out for the high school golf team, which was a big bummer because I was trying to get into a sport, really build a community there. And so ended up being hunched over at 19, and the only thing that ended up healing me was chiropractic care, the right kind. And it ended up being a real like multi-year journey to fix my back, get in proper alignment, and then get back into doing sports and being active again. So it was a bit tough, but I came through to it. But essentially how that led to community is that I've always loved golf. And what happened is that 16, 17, couldn't play golf. 19, I'm hunched over. By the time I'm 20, 25, I'm married, moved to a new place, have new friends, and my wife told me it's like, you need a hobby. So I naturally just kind of was like, okay, well, my back's good again. Let me see if I can get back into golf. So I got some of my dad's clubs. I reached out to the only friend that I knew played golf, which was an hour away. So I hit him up and I just met up with him every month or so to play around, and it was such a good time, but it was very infrequent when I played. And what ended up happening is that a few months into that journey, I was kind of questioning. It's like, man, I don't really know anybody who plays golf in my area. In the South Bay, I was driving an hour into Tracy to go play with my buddy. And what ended up happening is I went to go watch a college football game with a few buddies at a friend's place, and conversation turned to golf. I let people know, like, I'm kind of getting out there. I'm not very good by any means. And, a few of them were like, oh, I've been playing a few times, a month or so. And I was like, what? Like, my friends don't post it on their stories. They're not really loud about their golf playing and everything. And what that instantly brought to me is that why can't I see who's golfing in my community? These guys are golfing, a few times a month, and yet just because they don't post about it on Instagram or anything doesn't mean it's not a communal social aspect in sport. And so that was kind of like a light bulb moment for me of like, hey, let me go find a tool out there where I could find golfers booking tee times near me. And I couldn't find it. And that's pretty much what led to me doing the market research to understand the golf industry, to understand this is a problem, talking to some golf operators, talking to golfers everywhere I went, and just asking them, like, how do you find people to play golf with? And most of them, especially the Bay Area, this is a very transient area. People only move in here for a job for a year or two or maybe five. And, if they play golf, they really don't have anybody to play golf with. They got to meet people and they really have to put in a lot of effort to do that. And so I found a couple apps here and there, but it's kind of like Facebook like apps. You post on it once and it's like no one responds to you and you're probably never going to post on it again. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was definitely looking for a better solution, so I ended up deciding to make it.
That's really cool. You saw a need and filled a need. So when we were talking, you mentioned that 80% of golf in the U.S. is public golf, but public golfers lack autonomy in choosing their playing partners. How does community golf directly address this, I would think, significant pain point for public golfers?
Yeah, so I mean it's a huge deal. I think anybody who's played golf knows that most golf courses have like a membership. So the membership members usually have the autonomy to kind of get onto the inside of the community and see who's playing with who and book their tee times with everybody. But most of the public facing golfers don't have those features. So essentially, 80% of the rounds played in the country, and no, there's about 550 million rounds played, right? So we're talking like 350 or so million rounds of golf played in our country that are all played by public golfers at public courses or semi public courses, and they are booking blind. They are, if you don't have like the foursome that you go onto the course with, you will be paired with randoms, especially now with how golf has grown since 2020. Like, it's only gotten better. And last year was one of the biggest years that we've seen still in terms of golf rounds and golfers. Like, there's been about 1 million to 1.5 million golfers joining golf the last like 2 3 years. So like, golf courses are busier than ever, yet these public golfers, these guys who are new to golf, and also these younger golfers, they have no modern tools, they have no modern autonomy to find people their age and their, kind of demographic to play with. So with our solution, essentially how we solve that problem is that we are a booking platform. So we work with the golf courses to list their tee time inventory as well as their event inventory. So I'll go into events in a second, but for their tee time inventory, they have all the regular tee times that are available on the app. And what the golfers do, they can just go in and book like a regular app. But the best thing about it is that you can actually share your booking with other friends. You can add people on it. The goal is to get it so that you can like post it to your Instagram story and your friends can see your Instagram story and like join your golf round. Like, that'd be pretty cool. And so anybody who books a tee time goes on to like a social media like feed. So if you wanted to play on Friday, you can actually see all the golfers booking tee times in your area on Friday, filter by age, handicap, price, gender, and then find the people that you want to play with in our app. And so, there's obviously a lot of problems, in trying to solve that problem, but it's really great, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback. And even by these large companies who want to encourage their members to play more, they still don't have any social technology like this out there. So we're really trying to bring that to market for them.
Very, very cool. So, given that the golf industry is often 5 to 10 years behind in tech, what specific challenges did you have to face in developing community golf, and how did you overcome them, Christian?
Yeah, I mean, it was so I had a couple of technical guys on my team. I'm a non-technical guy. I come from a sales background and working with like churches and building communities. And so I essentially the hard part was the T sheet integration. It's anybody you talk to in the golf tech industry is like, T sheets are a pain. There are about 60 T sheet providers in the industry, and the problem is that there is 16,000 golf courses in the United States, but there's only 14,000 facilities, right? So these 60 T sheet companies are competing for these 14,000 customers, right? That's the most amount of customers. Even 10% of those customers still don't use any technology whatsoever, and which is a very large number if you think about it. So really, the 90% of the market has technology, and 60 providers are competing for 90% of that market share. So new guys pop up every year, and really getting integrations to those legacy T-sheet systems that still have 3, 4, 500 courses with them, that was what was difficult. So we had to do a lot of research, knock on a lot of doors, and we eventually found a company that had a gateway that would allow us to connect to multiple T-sheets with one integration. I mean, we're three guys trying to build this. So it was, I mean, that was a non-starter. We essentially said we couldn't start the business unless we had some type of gateway like this. So we found it, we built it into our system, and I won't lie to you, it's like an API built 10, 15 years ago. So it's even this gateway is really old, and what we're seeing is just a general lack of not just innovation, but modern technology, modern tech stacks. And it's crazy to me because when I talk to operators, they're still asking if we're server or on cloud. And I'm like, I thought this was the 21st century. I thought everybody's on the cloud already. Like, I did not know this was going to be a conversation. And I come from enterprise sales background. I've talked to a lot of companies, even small companies that are using modern software, but most of the software they're using in the golf industry, some of it is still 5, 10 years old. So it's pretty it's a very interesting market, as well as just the people running the courses. I love one of the reasons I love the golf industry is because it is like a big family. Like it is a hobby, it's a passion for a lot of people who go into this industry. And a lot of operators, they're 50 plus years old. Some of them bought this because of a retirement job, and some of them treat it as business. So very different conversations that I need to have with these operators, but the people who want to run it as a business, get their inventory out there, you know, um, and increase general, we're a demand gen, sales gen kind of platform. They're the ones who are excited to partner with us because they know the power of uh, of the social aspect of what we're trying to do.
Sure. Yeah. So, kind of delving into that the industry side of it a little bit, the current marketplace situation in golf is you talked about where one company kind of dominates by bartering inventory and undercutting value. How does community golf's free, no cost marketplace model disrupt this dynamic and then benefit the operators in doing so?
Yeah, so I was my team was a little like back and forth on the type of model, but I just think that the model is what fixes kind of the industry systemic problem, right? So for about it's 2026, I mean, for about 20 years, 20 years ago, golf was not as good as it was today. So a lot of these mom and pop shops, they didn't really know much about, I mean, the iPhone is hardly coming out. Facebook was just starting. Like there wasn't really much of that digital revolution, right? And so there was a marketplace online that came to a lot of these operators in the industry. It was like, hey, I'll list your inventory on my platform as long as you give me ownership of 1 to 4 tee times a day. So, for example, like using an analogy here for like hotels, right, on inventory. If you had 100 hotel rooms and a marketplace like Expedia came to you, like, I want ownership over 1 to 4 of your rooms on a nightly basis, and I'm going to keep 100% of that revenue just so you can list your golf course or your hotel on my platform. That's crazy. In today's world, that's crazy. Back then, I get it. But this company knew that these operators were a little desperate and they took advantage of that situation. So they locked them into 5, 10 year contracts for this inventory. So now here we are 20 years later, there's still a lot of operators stuck in these contracts that are basically sucking them dry because there's supposed to be price floors on the inventory so that their normal inventory retains value, but they go drop because they use dynamic pricing on their marketplace. They drop these tee time values and they control the prices so that they always get their sale first, right? And they're kind of what's known as the hot deals marketplace. So, and obviously golf is an expensive sport, so who's not going to take a hot deal, right? So that's a little bit of a tough systemic part there. So fast forward now to how we solve that problem is that I thankfully, like, I've worked for a company that uses a similar model, what we call a B2B2C model, where that we collect the inventory on our platform as a marketplace to serve the operator, and we offer that to consumers at for a transaction fee. So we drive 100% of the revenue back to the operator, and yet we're just charging a simple $3 transaction fee per tee time. And then we charge like a simple, flat rate fee for like event registrations as well. So that way the operator can control their prices. They have complete autonomy on which inventory that they want to list on the platform. And ultimately it drives 100% of the revenue back to them while increasing the amount of tee times that we will book because of the social community that we're building for golfers on our platform. So it's and the good thing is that once we do that, we don't have to stop there. We were starting with events as well. Most golf courses run about 22 golf events a year, yet there's no marketing platform in the industry for golf events. Most of them use Eventbrite, but it's not like segmented specific. And then the goal is to kind of expand to lessons and memberships to give these courses a free marketplace to sell all their services.
I love it. I really love it. So let's shift a bit. The Build Loop is about helping other founders, that are starting startups and building companies, not necessarily startups, but building companies. Look, you currently are pre-revenue, but you're about to launch with your first client. You've got verbal agreements from others and even some enterprise clients. What has been the most challenging aspect of bringing community golf to this launch point, especially with the slow adoption rate of new technology by operators like you just talked about?
Yeah, I think there's a few issues that we've had on a technical side of things. Like it is my first time founding a company, so resources can be tight, right, Mac? I mean, you doing your thing here, like I mean, you get it. Like you build up your nest egg, I had a relatively successful sales career, and so I had some money in the bank and I'm like, I found this problem and I'm like, I think I can do this, but here I am 2 years later and working with my first client. It takes a lot of time, and I think mistakenly I did not get enough. And maybe I was too hard headed, as a salesperson can sometimes be, where like I didn't get enough advice from mentors on how to build the platform. Because 2 years ago, like what's it called, vibe coding platforms were coming out, but they weren't as good. Even Claude Code, which is huge right now, it was nowhere nearly as good 2 years ago. So we ended up contracting with some India developers to kind of build out the platform, and they got us to an MVP one, but it took them about a year. And then even from there, we were still not impressed. The work, it didn't really work. Like we, it was a really tough issue. And so we ended up having like just a lot of general roadmap issues and planning problems. And I won't lie to you, like I needed to do a better job at finding founders that were committed. Like I've gone through probably three different co-founders. Like there's three of us now. There's actually two of us now, but the third guy has always kind of been swapping. So it's like two of us are really committed, and then the third guy has always kind of been on board-ish. And so it's been kind of a problem. So finding good founder fit, outlining the expectations for what it means to be a team, and then agreeing on the things that we need to build first versus buy. That's been something I've been reading about recently, where it's like, yeah, it doesn't make sense for us to build that out. Why are we wasting our time and paying engineering hours to do that? So a lot of that, I almost wish we built the whole platform with Lovable. I like Lovable. I've used it for some side projects for some friends, and things go so fast, but our tech stack is more complex than what Lovable will allow us to do, I think, from the experiences that I've had with it. And so these vibe coding tools were just not as dominant, not as prevalent, but I think the technical aspect of building it was been really, really difficult. And that's, it comes with the territory. First time you do anything, you don't know how to do it well, but I'm really thankful in that now I've built up rapport with a handful of mentors and tech advisors, where that like I'm being helped with my financial preparations, my roadmap preparations, marketing, as well as like business aspect and contracts. So I think the cool thing about starting a company is that you have to learn to build a community of people who can help you quickly, and there's a lot of founders in your same stage. So anytime I meet other founders, it's like we're all in this fight together, right? We're all trying to figure this out, finding a way to like make money and add value to the marketplace and carve out our own little niche in the world.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
So you noted that raising money has been a challenge due to the niche nature of the golf industry, and investors are often looking for AI and product roadmaps. How are
Yeah.
you navigating this funding landscape, and what kind of investor fit are you seeking?
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a pretty big problem, I think. Like I've talked to investors here and there, but not a lot of people who are interested in investing in the golf industry. The golf industry in the United States is only about $100 billion market, 150 billion if you consider, charity and things like that, some other more peripheral items in the industry. But essentially the hard part is that AI is really running with all the VC money, right? And in golf, you'd have to be very aggressive to be considered a high growth golf company, because it takes a long time to get the balls rolling on your deals, right? So I've been talking to some of these enterprise companies for a couple of years. I've been talking to the smaller, couple clients for a couple of years, and only now are my first contracts falling in line and things like that. So you can kind of start to see is that without the manpower of getting a bunch of contracts up first, before you try to raise money, it's kind of like, are you really going to work out? There's a lot of golf companies that can come up now with AI too. So the diversification of different products and the branding that's going to come out is a little bit, there's a lot of options. So, but I mean, every report out there I'm seeing, 80% of venture capital money is going into AI companies. So, we've had to be really good at equipping ourselves to using AI internally to now support the building of the product, the marketing of the product, etc., etc. And that gives the investors we're talking to like more of like okay, like you're not an AI company, you're a traditional marketplace. I can understand your industry and I understand why it would work. Yet, you're gonna need X, Y, and Z to compete with or gain this amount of money. So really we're looking for types of investors that are really passionate about the golf industry, maybe are longtime golfers, and really see this problem in their community. I've even heard some of my friends who are younger guys trying to join these private clubs in the Bay Area where it's like there's really no easy way to meet the members or meet people. You kind of just have to be available to book tee times or try to catch some of the other members, in passing to build relationships with them. And that's even a problem I've heard that I'd love to see if we can fix, with our app and platform. But, ultimately, it's a very interesting kind of game that we're playing, trying to raise money in such a niche industry. So, especially because I don't come from the golf industry, I do know of another founder that he does have connections in the industry, but he still wasn't able to raise money until they were running about 500,000 in revenue. So I mean, we're pre-rev. We're about to launch with our first client, and it could be another 6 months to a year where we're even at the exact same place that guy was, and so it might be another year before we could raise money from the investor's perspective. So I have to do everything in my power to de-risk the investment, have these customers kind of like in alignment or in the pipeline, so that when I talk to an investor, I'm confident about the desire and need for our product so that when they write that check inevitably, they know exactly Christian is doing X, Y, and Z, and he's fulfilling the needs and expectations of these customers and what the relationships that he has with them. And that's how I've done my best to kind of de-risk the investment for investors. Yet, there's still a lot of hesitancy, especially with the ups and downs of the market, even in the last couple of years with inflation and, global economics,
Yeah,
stuff like
sure.
that. So,
Yeah,
yeah, so there's a lot of factors there, but raising money is a game that a lot of founders play, and I'll tell you, it's not an easy one.
yeah. Well, we've come to the last question. So, beyond connecting golfers, you have a background in building community in the nonprofit space. How do you envision leveraging that experience to foster a stronger, more engaged community around community golf?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I'm actually like, it's so funny. Like, I started this company, and my goal was to get to that part. And by that part, I mean, I used to partner with churches, local churches here in the Bay Area, to build their young professional communities. So post COVID, obviously, there's still a lot of fear, around coming together in spaces. And so I partnered with a church that had a large event space. And I was like, hey, like, if I could get, 10 of my friends to come in and support the ministry, could we start to rebuild the young professional ministry? This is like a 7,000 person church. And as Bay Area is still hiring. There's still a lot of jobs here. There was like dozens of people I met that still moved to the Bay Area during that kind of 2020, 2021 era, and they did not have the ability to meet people. So there was a lot of these people going to church for the first time that basically had no opportunities to make friends. So a lot of these people, even non-church or non-Christians, were coming to church just to meet people because it was really the only place they knew they could. And so I thought it was a great opportunity to open up the doors, get people together, and make some relationships happen. So I'm really excited because I basically started some like weekly events at my churches where we would come together on a weekly basis, have food, have fellowship, and really build that community. So it got to the point where we had about 60 people coming on a weekly basis, and then we ended up having multiple events where we had over 100 people. So it's a pretty like fun journey for me. But I think what I'm excited to do in the golf world is that once I get the platform going and running and we have like a easy place to distribute the events themselves and like let people be aware of what's going on, I'm excited to work on course with the operators themselves on a weekly or a monthly basis to like build relationships with them and also like work with their staff to help them create a hospitable environment to make these golfers feel welcome, but also be that glue to help these members or these new attendees for the first time get integrated into that community. And every golf course is different. This is what you'll consistently hear if you ever talk to a golf, founder who's working with operators. And, you're meeting a lot of different kinds of people, and, everyone needs a little glue to kind of help introduce people and needs a little bit of that energy to get people going. And that's kind of what makes it fun. It's that social aspect of being a part of a community. And the real problem that I really want to focus on solving is that you could be a member of any club, but that doesn't mean you feel a part or feel belonging in that community that you're a part of. So just because you pay the fees doesn't really mean that you feel like it's a community.
Yeah, I love that. I love your passion about it. So tell everyone if they want to get in touch with you or community golf, what's the best way to find you? What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so you can follow us on Instagram at community.golf, and that's community with two E's. So community.golf on Instagram. And then you can also check out our website at communitygolf.com or community.golf as well. So you can find us on our website there. And that would really be the best way. My email is on there. You can always DM us. Like we're constantly kind of like talking with different people following us and like that. And so we're kind of in this stage where there's just two of us. So we're really trying to engage with a lot of people. And I still work a full-time job, so I'm really trying to put in the effort to meet the people where they're at and like supporting us and subscribing on our website because we want to launch this at all the clubs, nationwide. And I think that really we have to take these baby steps. But if you have a good relationship with if anybody on the has a great relationship with their golf course and knows that they're open to technology like this, like we'd love to talk with you about it because the more open an operator is and like you obviously maybe have experienced or felt this problem before at your course, it's a very easy, simple fix, and we're a free platform, so it really doesn't take much to get us up and running and to allow us to start solving that need for your community at your course.
All right, love it. So thank you for joining the Build Loop today. Christian, we really appreciate it. This has been a fascinating conversation and it solves a real problem. So we
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mac. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Yep, no problem.